Whoa. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Hi, everyone. How are we doing? Hi. I feel like that's a common emo for me. This is my silk scarf that I wear. I don't know. I kind of don't want it in the background. I'm trying to keep the back of me as clean as possible, even though it's dirty, but yeah. I just don't want my silk scarf there. But hey everybody. I hope we're doing well. A long time no see. Um let's look at my analytics. Okay. I haven't been on here in a while. And so it's very, very hard for me to situate myself. It's been a couple weeks, yeah. And I'll explain why in a bit. First and foremost, I probably have no excuse to not be on here and be as inconsistent as I've been. Um a lot of stuff has been happening behind the scenes. I've been getting myself on a schedule of exercising daily and regularly. And I like it, but it does make me feel very tired because I'm lifting heavy weights and I'm, doing cardio too. I've started spinning again. And so not that it's an excuse, but it's just some adjustments that I'll have to, learn how to be okay with. When I get a job, I'm probably going to limit the amount of workouts I do in the gym because really, like, you should only be working out anywhere between like 45 minutes to an hour. It shouldn't be any longer than that. And then everything else is just diet. So, you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, there's that. There's that. Also, my childhood best friend is following me on my other YouTube channel. I don't know. I find that so interesting because we haven't talked in so long. And sometimes I think about like, wow, childhood best friend. Okay, so just for some like background insight, when we were growing up, politically, like we had two different opposing views, right? And now that I'm older, I can understand why she is or why she was where she was right now. I don't know where she is politically right now. I really don't. But back then when Barack Obama was running for president, we would always get in arguments about it. And as we've gotten older, like I'm pretty sure she's acknowledged that like Trump isn't a good guy. I really don't know. I really don't know. But I just find it really funny because like half the stuff I talk about on here is pretty progressive and pretty left leaning. So I don't know. I just find it funny that she's following me. But I also like took a look at her playlist to see like what she watches, and it's very neutral stuff. It's very like cooking videos and country music covers. So, but anyway, um, yeah, I just thought that was funny. I think that would have, I felt like that would have been a good like icebreaker. Um, so life's been lifing. Yeah, would you say so? Would you say so? Life has been lifing, and I'm not gonna lie, I'll be so happy when Trump leaves this earth. Okay, okay. So we're gonna talk about that in a minute, James. But thank you for joining the stream. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna be here for too long, probably like an hour or two, and then I'm gonna head out. But we're gonna talk about it. Like I said, life has been lifing personally in my own life, and then also just witnessing everything going on in the news and in the media right now. Life has been lifing, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't been taking it too well. I know I haven't been taking things too well if like my main music genre is heavy metal. There's like a lot of anger in my heart, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Like I'm very angry with how things are going. But hey, in all that anger, I've picked up a new music genre to get into, and that's I guess heavy metal for me. And I really like it. I like how it challenges me as a listener, but it's like it's not like like Metallica or like new metal. I do enjoy new metal, by the way, but it's like melodic death metal. I don't even know if I can say that so early in the stream, but yeah, I'm listening to melodic death metal now because of how angry I am. I've flirted with the idea of black metal, though I'm very careful of which bands I listen to because I know black metal has that weird like shock value. They have like some like white supremacist bands, and I'm not trying to get into that. So and I also don't like shock value music, videos, content for the sake of just being shocking. I hate that shit. I really do. So, yeah, that's how I know things have gotten bad. Like I'm at my boiling point right now. And I have been for the past, I want to say like couple of years, but really it kind of kick-started 10 years ago in 2016. I hear a lot of people say 2016 was the best year ever. 2016 was great. And this is coming from Gen Z. No shade to Gen Z. I don't want to like poop on you guys. I love you guys down. I have a little sliver of hope that y'all will be the change we want to see. I hope. Little sliver. But a lot of Gen Z is like, oh my God, 2016 was the year. It was the best year ever. It was so nice. Things were so good. The music was good. And I just remember being 21 in 2016 or half of 2016, I was 21. And I remember how awful we were saying 2016 was as a year. I don't know if you guys like zillennial millennials. Do you guys remember that meme circulating around social media about how 2016 was the worst year ever? Because we lost a lot of celebrities. We lost Prince. We lost I think Alan Rickman, the man who played Snape. We lost a lot of people in 2016. Let me look up real quickly. And that's what we were framing all of 2016 on, is how many like prominent celebrities we had lost, or like artists we had lost. Let me see if I remember. It was like a meme, like, oh my God, 2016's awful because okay, here we go. Let me see if I can find this Reddit post. What's the story behind the sentiment of months? What's the story behind the 2016 is a terrible year meme? See, this is 9 years ago, guys. So I know that it's not a political reaction amongst Americans in regards to their elections. We're gonna get there real quick, but major things that happened. Yeah, this is why we said this was an awful year. Brexit, UK leaves the Europe. Ooh. Refugee crisis in Syria. Lots of celeb unalivings early in the year. The actor from Star Trek passed away. Probably, yeah. And so that's why America was like stressed, is because like the Star Trek actor passed away. Prince passed away. I know that was a really big deal when Prince passed away. Alan Rickman, a lot of celebrities passed away. In US, the constant commentary of the presidential election, both sides running hostile in the primaries. So yeah, there was a lot of hostility. Do we let a woman run the country, or do we let a con man of a billionaire who has no political experience from the country? I remember that. And then like the Democrats and the Republicans, France terror attacks. I remember this too. Let's put a pin in that real quickly because I have a quick story time about that. Cleveland won a major sports title. Cavs won an NBA title, diluting memeing about Cleveland sucking as a sports town. I wonder if this was when LeBron James was on their team. Cubs won the World Series, ending all the tank memeing of the Cubs losing. Okay, so I'm not really a big sports gal, but 2016, from what I remember about 2016, that was a very, very, like, we were all saying that year was awful. And then Trump became president. And then we were like, oh, that's going to put the nail in the coffin. So yeah, that's why we were saying 2016 was the worst year ever. Um, and it's so funny because now we're seeing like Gen Z and Gen Alpha be like, oh my God, 2016 was the best year ever. Everything was so simple back then, not a care in the world. And looking back, I agree. It was a lot better than what is going to transpire 10 years from now. Social media was in a really positive place. Before Trump became president, even while Trump became president, there was more of a need. There was a sense of there wasn't a sense of helplessness. There was an urgency to fight back, and then we had certain sides, like the Democrats were not happy, and some of the Republicans were not happy that Trump was in office. You know what I mean? So it was just different back then. The music was really, really good. I'd say 2016, you could argue kind of, sort of, but like, Rihanna dropped Anti, Beyonce dropped Lemonade, all the songs on those albums were really good. But to talk about the France terror attacks real quick, because I think I kind of predicted the media literacy crisis we would have 10 years from now. I posted on my Facebook something along the lines of, oh God, I'm pulling this out from like 10, 12 years ago. But I posted on Facebook something along the lines about, just because someone doesn't agree with you does not mean that they're an awful person. Like we need to stop coming at people who have a difference of opinion than you do, right? Like, people are allowed to have difference of opinions, right? And like, that's true, right? Like, people are allowed to have difference of opinions, and that doesn't mean that you should cancel them, or that you should punish them for having those views, or just make wild assumptions about who they are as an individual. Like, you need a handful of opinions before you make assumptions, and even then those can be wrong, right? And underneath that Facebook post I made, somebody commented about the France terrorist attacks. And they were like, yeah, that's nice and all, but in France, there are people that are like getting unalived. So get with it. Like, that's very rude of you to say. And I'm like, wait, whoa, I'm not even talking about the France terror attacks. Like, how did we get there? All I said is that it's okay for someone to have a difference of opinion than you. Or I think I said that, or like, you don't have to bandwagon on a certain movements, like, you can have an opinion. And then this person commented like, yeah, well, yeah, well, what France is going through is really traumatizing, and we should all be there to support. And I'm like, I wasn't talking about that. I wasn't talking about France. And like, lo and behold, 10 years later, we have a really bad media literacy crisis where people are jumping to strong conclusions like that because they don't know the context of what someone's talking about, or maybe there is no context at all. And so, yeah, now we got 10 years later, if you say I like waffles, someone's going to think you're a French toast bigot. That's just how it is. That's how we are, unfortunately. Politics has gotten more and more polarizing. I will say in 2016, politics was very polarizing. And I think for me personally, I think it was almost like this should not happen. Like, we should not have gotten to a point where a reality TV celebrity branded con man has the ability to run for president. Like, what's going on? Anton Yelchin is his name. Sorry, James. Anton Yelchin. Okay, so that was the Star Trek guy. Oh, okay. I didn't know. Oh, from the new Star Trek, I guess. That's unfortunate. Okay, sorry. James just let me know that a Star Trek actor died in 2016. So thanks for letting me know, James. But anyway, things were really polarizing because it was like a woman might become president versus a celebrity con man. And I think for me personally, tensions were rising because at the very least, it baffled me that the Republicans wouldn't choose someone like Mitt Romney or like McCain, or I don't know, George Bush's cousin. Like, but you want to go with someone who has no experience in the political field, and you want to choose him. Like, that's what was scary about it all. And then he ends up winning with not even an inkling of the qualifications needed or experience needed to be a political leader in comparison to a woman who has way more political experience. However, I will say that looking back, both the Democrats and the Republicans, like, neither of them are really, like, I'm not on the side of either of them at all, really. I don't really support anything that they do. And I think 2016, the way it went down politically, it really opened up my eyes to just how, this country kind of works. That really, it's not about who's qualified for the job anymore. It's about who is marketable. Like, you can argue that Obama was marketable. That's probably why McCain didn't win. Because he had a lot of taglines like change, and he was doing the campaign around, like, speaking at different churches and different events, you know what I mean? And at most, McCain had Sarah Palin, and looking back, like, we treated Sarah Palin like garbage as a woman. Like, I don't have to agree with her politics to say, like, yeah, we were assholes to Sarah Palin. But and then I remember Sarah Palin's daughter had gotten pregnant, and she's like the vice president. Like, that's the level of, like, prestige and, like, standard we had in politics, where you could not be vice president, let alone president, or run for vice president, let alone president, and have a bunch of illegitimate children from multiple different women, and then have your wife pose nude in a magazine when she was a model. Like, that could not happen. No. In, like, 2008, when Obama was running, and like, let's not get it twisted. Like, the worst that they had on Obama and on the Obamas is that Barack Obama wore a suit and they didn't like it, and then Michelle Obama had her arms out and they compared her to an ape. Meanwhile, Sarah Palin over here got a whole daughter who's pregnant, and, like, that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but that was the level of purity culture and couth and professionalism and squeaky clean image that you had to have in politics from, like, 2008 to, like, 2012, really, like, 2014, right? And you know what I mean? And so Trump comes into office and he's like anything but that. Like, he's over here, there's, like, footage of him saying, grab her by the genital parts, and he's able to produce a whole entire cult behind him. And people are like, oh yeah, we like him because he's not a traditional businessman, or he's not a traditional politician. And it's like, bro, but he's like a sleazy businessman. He's a cons man. He's not like you. He didn't get it out of the mud like you did. And you're willing to vote him in? Like, are we being for real right now? You know? And I remember the day he got elected, and this is something that happens all the time when this man gets elected. I have a panic attack. I literally like freak out and have a panic attack. And like, it seems like nobody is there to help or support me in those times. Like, I freak out because I know what this is going to look like. I knew in 2016, I had a feeling that in 2016, the nonsense that happened in 2020 was right around the corner. And I knew in 2024, the nonsense, it hasn't even been a whole, like, well, it's been a whole year, right? But he hasn't even like hit halfway to his term. And now we have ICE bucking up against innocent civilians, American civilians. At the very least, I thought the purpose of ICE was to, you know, incarcerate illegal aliens. Not that I agree with that at all, but like, I thought that that was their job. I didn't assume or think that they would gun down innocent civilians, American civilians. And like, it just pisses me off so much because it's like every single time I have these feelings, I feel like, I remember 2016 when Trump won, I called my aunt, and the first thing she said, because I was like devastated, I didn't know where to go, I needed like some support, I was, you know, on my own. And the first thing she said is, well, you need not to worry, and we just need to start praying. We need to just start praying. And I'm just like, same thing happened again, actually, with my boss. Like, my boss let me take a day off when Trump was elected because she thought in my mind that I was pissed off that like Trump was elected president. Really, that day, she was on my ass for no apparent reason. That was really what it was. And she kept sending like messages after messages, like spam messages. And like, I could not catch a break that day. And so that's why I was stressed. But like, in her mind, she assumed, oh no, she's stressed out about the election. And she's like, okay, I want you to take the day off because you seem stressed. And I'm like, okay, let me take the day off because of that. But really, I'm stressed because you're up my ass all the damn time for no reason. And then I come back and she makes a comment about that. Yeah, like, some people just aren't strong enough. Even when I was like, when I said, you know, I don't know what to do. Like, this man won and I'm nervous. Literally repeating textbook information off of TikTok that I've already seen. Sending me TikToks that I've already seen of women saying, Black women, sit this one out. Black women, we're going to be strong. Let's be strong, Black women. We're going to sit this one out. You got to be strong. I'm like, I don't want to be strong. I'm not a strong person. Like, I'm tired of not being met with softness. I'm just tired of it. Like, socially, I'm expected to not be met with softness. Like, I'm tired of that as a Black woman. And to see another Black woman sit me down and be like, yeah, you just got to be strong. You know, we're going to be at peace. We're going to be minding our business. And I'm like, no, like, what? Not everything's a TikTok reel. Like, this is real life. This is probably going to affect us. That's why I was never really on board for, what was it? I was never really on board for, you know, Black people were going to sit back and be at rest while everybody, the whole world protests. I remember that was coming out when we found out that Trump was going to be president, is that, you know, we're going to sit back and let the chaos ensue, right? That low key felt like propaganda to me, because I'm pretty sure America knows that one thing Black people can do and people of color can do is create a movement, protest, and rally up against something and attempt to create some sort of change. And I thought that I felt like it was a direct hit towards the Black community to not stand up for what's right, because they know that we have a lot of impact and influence. In the same breath, I also understand why Black people don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to be in the front lines. They don't want to fight anymore because we spent the last 4 years before Biden fighting. Even in some, while Biden was in office, we spent years fighting. And I think for Black women especially, because we're known to organize these movements, I go back to the founder of BLM. Even though they identified as like a they them, that was a femme presenting person that started the movement. And I have my own criticisms about BLM. I'm not going to get into those right now, but like the Me Too movement was started by a Black woman. Like a lot of these movements that we started in 2016 were low key started by Black women or Black, like women adjacent, you know? And so it was kind of like a slap in the face to see all of the things that Black women had worked for between the years of like 2021 and like 2024 just be just be disrespected. Like this aggressive push towards conservatism, this aggressive like COON behavior. I don't know if I can say that. But the tokenism in the conservative party, seeing so many like Kevin Samuels should not have been a thing. That should not have been a thing. As soon as y'all let Kevin Samuels enter a space and be like Black men's proverbial proverbial virtual daddy that's supposed to give them old school advice about dating, love, and relationships. As soon as that happened, Black women were out. They were out because why would you let that man come in and disrespect us like that? And y'all did. And then there were the little henchmen before him or after him when he passed away. And so yeah, we were like, there was a lot of like virtual bullying or digital bullying that a lot of like Black women had gone through, and Black people had gone through, and like an aggressive attempt to push conservatism, even though you know it's loud and wrong, an aggressive attempt to make it palatable with the trad wife movement and romanticizing the 1950s and all of that. You know what we did in like the 2020s. All this conversation, these aggressive conversations about gender and what's a woman's role versus what a man's role is, and all of these dumb, pointless podcasts. It was all leading up to this moment. Even like the cultural shift video that I was critiquing last time I was here talked about this, where, like we went from progressivism, performative progressivism, if you really want to call it that, like capitalistic leftism, okay? And then we're guns a-blazing into conservatism. And there's been multiple attempts to try to make conservatism cool. You've noticed that? Sydney Sweeney, I have good genes, Dunkin' Donuts, good genes, or whatever they were saying in Dunkin' Donuts about eugenics. I never saw that commercial, but apparently it was very like eugenics coded. Drake hanging out with Aiden Ross, Drake in general, with the police haircut after he got mollywopped by Kendrick, letting Aiden Ross exist in Black spaces around Black people, riding off the coattails of Black people, and no Black men being comfortable to check that man when he is loud and wrong. Especially like the young guys, just letting him talk all types of ways. I think there was one Black guy, probably in his early 20s, I was like, why are you coming for this Black woman this way? Because he's still on it about Doechii. And it took the onks. It took the onks. It took the onks coming in and being like, who's this? Whose white boy is this? Okay, like, get him out of here. The hip hop unks had to step in and be like, this guy is an effing idiot. You need to like deplatform this man now. He has no idea what he's talking about. But I mean, that's kind of what happens when hip hop culture gets comfortable. Y'all got the culture of hip hop got comfortable with letting Drake just not really be hip hop for real. And then Drake having the power he does and the push that he did at the time, bringing on folks like DJ Academics, Aiden Ross, like, you know, leading up to this moment with Aiden Ross all out here just like F Doji. And like I said, I've been around Aiden Rosses before. There is no reason why that white boy would have so much anger towards a female rapper like Doji. They like his wheelhouse is like Yeet and Playboy Cardi. Like Doji's wheelhouse is like is Kendrick. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just not even in the demographic, And it's like you have this much like angst towards this woman. Are you getting paid? I've always thought like, yeah, someone's paying him a big bucks to shit on this girl. Like, cause there's just no reason. There's literally no reason. I think I skipped this, but even like in hip hop, people saying that they're having rap fatigue or black fatigue, and the irony of it coming from other black people, rap black fatigue. Really? No. But I digress. I'm getting all over the place. Um I'm not in support of ICE. I don't know if I ever felt like I had to say that, but I'm not in support of anything that they're doing. Um oh, hello. Hi. What they're doing is very disgusting. Um and horrifying. And it's definitely paralleling 1930s Germany. One of my friends, hold on one second, guys. I gotta turn off this microwave real quick. Hold on. Okay, hey. Who food cave vlog girl? Chill. I just went to get my partner some coffee. Like, relax. Welcome. Okay, we're discussing like pop culture moments. Um what's going on with ICE? All right. So if that's not in your wheelhouse, you can leave, but like relax. Okay. Jeez. All right. Anyway, welcome to the chat. But um you're really pretty. All right, continue. Oh, thank you. You're really pretty too. Is that your profile pic or an anime girl? It's cute. I haven't been on stream for a while, so like we're just gonna have to take it easy, okay? Let's all right. Anyway. Um so yeah, I've never been in support of ICE at all or anything that they're doing. I honestly wasn't in support of them during the Biden administration either, because they were putting kids in cages. And I think during the Biden administration, I realized that both Democrats and Republicans are not it. Like they both suck. They both suck. They both suck monkey balls. They've been sucking monkey balls. And I provide myself a lot of grace because I was young and I didn't know any better. And, growing up, you see the world in rose colored glasses. So I remember when Trump became president, I was like, wow, look at all of these people, wanting to fight and rally up against this blatant bigotry that's going on. Like, I'm so proud of us, and you think that that's like we're going to move forward, we're going to progress, right? But capitalism rears its ugly head. A lot of the movements that were popularized in the 2010s, they ended up being commercialized. And I think the fall of the culture war, leaning more towards, or not the culture war, but the fall of the culture shift, leaning more towards the left, move to the right, because I really do believe this is because of the conversations we were having about gender and deconstructing gender and not really introducing, but bringing to light, trans rights and the rights of trans people and the rights of queer people and non-binary people. And I really do think that kind of started the culture shift from the left to the right. And the introduction to the culture shift was this, need to address what makes a man and what makes a woman. You know what I mean? And, how to be a clean woman, and, how to be a soft, feminine, divine, feminine woman, and how to be an alpha, masculine, strong man. How many content creators on YouTube, that's their whole brand: life coaching, femininity, and masculinity, in the most traditional patriarchal sense. Yes. 26 views. I do not get 26 views often. I'm gonna just keep yapping, girl. Anyway. And so I think that a lot of the gender conversations that we were having when the culture was shifting left, or was still left leaning, sprouted out this new culture war of, I swear I hate Trump. Yeah, me too. Had started this culture shift to, aggressive, like, gender roles, and like romanticizing womanhood and romanticizing manhood in the most traditional patriarchal sense. I believe that once you start deconstructing gender, that is a closer push to deconstructing patriarchy. Feminism was like the first push, right? It was the first push. But the problem with feminism in the 2010s, the girl bossing of it all, is that capitalism, right? Like, that's the problem. And a lot of the women who were into like the feminist girl boss mindset, right, got into these high roles of like these working career roles and these career moves, and then they realize that they are fatigued and they're tired, and they were told, commercial feminism, right, they're being told, do exactly what the men do, but better, but exceptional. And realizing that what the men are doing is awful, and the men still do it because they want to conform to patriarchy, because they used to get benefits. They don't really get the benefits anymore, right? But they used to, so they're clinging on to that idea of getting the benefits that patriarchy gives them. And then the women come in with commercial feminism, which is different from like, fourth wave feminism. In my opinion, it's the feminism that you can sell to middle America. It's Taylor Swift. It's Beyonce. It's not really unpacking and dismantling constructs like sexism and gender and all of that, because that, like, or not capitalism, constructs like capitalism and gender and all that, because that, like, messes the system up, right? So you got commercial feminism, and you got fourth wave feminism in the 2010s, and fourth wave is saying, hey, trans people exist, they deserve rights. Queer people exist, they deserve rights. Some people might not identify as like, male or female. They just might identify as like a person, and that's okay. And you can't sell that to middle America. You can sell to middle America, especially the women, girls get it done, girls boss, yeah, girl power, right? And then have them fall into the awful trenches of capitalism and realize that they're suffering just in the same way that the men are, right? But you cannot sell that trans people deserve rights, because almost immediately, because it's to a lot of people, it might be a new concept, right? And people aren't like well versed in like gender. You get to this point where you get to this point where I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But basically what I'm trying to say is that as soon as people started to deconstruct gender, that's when I think the culture shifted to be more conservative, and conservatism reared its ugly head. And that's where we started to get the aggressive gender roles. And it was very nefarious how they came to be. But because it really did, like, I was in it real time. I saw it in my mid-20s, how to have better hygiene as a woman. Who doesn't want to learn how to have a cleaner coochie? Right? Though we can unpack the sentiment of what makes a coochie clean later, but like, you want to learn how to clean your coochie correctly. And I was like, okay, like, girl, I'm into it. Like, how to smell good, what fragrances to wear if you want to meet a certain vibe. Like, you want to know those things, right? And then it went from like self-hygiene and being cozy and learning to take care of yourself to how to be a truly feminine woman, to how to be a truly feminine woman to obtain an alpha masculine husband that's going to take care of you and pay all the bills and let you live your softest of soft life. What? So the 2010s were a pivotal, often polarizing period for gender dynamics, marked by intense debate over what some critics termed the feminization of society or the end of men. Discussions from this era centered on the rise of women in the workforce, the shift in cultural and institutional norms, and the emergence of pop feminism. Yeah, exactly. That's what the 2010s were based off of. And pop feminism is another way to phrase it. I call it commercial feminism. Other people call it capitalist feminism. I call it commercial because pop feminism was Taylor Swift and Beyonce. It was The Man by Taylor Swift. I can do the same thing that the men do. If I was the man, I'd be such a badass. And then, we see that Taylor does those things. And now we're like, girl, you're like a billionaire. Why does your music still suck? K-drama vibes. You know what I mean? Like, you're over here creating merch out in Taiwan somewhere for your fans to buy, overpriced merch only for it to fall apart, messing up the vinyl industry, but more or less just coming out with mediocre music and being a mean girl in the same breath. Like, what's so feminist about that, right? So like, pop feminism is The Man by Taylor Swift, but fourth wave feminism is, why are you tearing women down in Life of a Showgirl? Why are you comparing Kayla Nicole to a Moldavite stone and yourself as like an opalite, a white stone? Like, why is this happening? Why are you shitting on Charlie XCX when she was just vulnerable and said, I'll never be you? Why are you inserting yourself into every single conversation about like the next up and coming pop girl, or trying to stifle the next pop girl when you've owned the charts for like God knows how long? Why are you doing this? That's fourth wave. Fourth wave is calling out the toxic bullying of, people who have too much power. And you can't sell that. Fourth wave is like, okay, patriarchy isn't working for any of us, including the men. What are we going to do to change that? Society is getting feminized. It's time for men to be men. Fourth wave is trans women are women. Then you get J.K. Rowling out of nowhere. Well, I don't think someone with a penis should be called a woman. You know what I mean? And so now we have this conservative culture shift, but I don't know if it's because I'm in my own bubble and I haven't explored other bubbles, but something I've noticed about a lot of conservative bubbles and conservative adjacent bubbles is that they all repeat the same things. A conservative adjacent bubble, I would argue, is like the femininity bubble that sprouted up, right? Same thing after thing after, like, same thing, textbook definition. Soft, dainty jewelry, expensive perfume, wigs look ratchet. Wear your natural hair or wear a silk press, or you know what I mean? I don't think someone with a P should be called a woman personally. It's so zesty. So I disagree. Like, I really do disagree. God, I could spend hours talking about this. Personally, I don't even like the language zesty, to be honest with you. And that's just my opinion. Okay. I just don't like the word zesty. Unless like the person is actually gay, like a gay man, then maybe you can call him zesty. But I feel like that is trying to, prevent men from expressing any form of emotions, which I feel like we should give them space to at the very least do that in the most non-toxic way as possible. I feel like that's breeding grounds to feed to this patriarchal idea that men need to man up and not show any emotion. And then when we as the woman demand that from a man, and he performs that version of masculinity, and then we get upset when he doesn't like express his sensitive side, or he doesn't know how to communicate well. And it's like, well, you called him zesty. So, you know what I mean? And so gender for gay, that's when I say zesty. Oh, okay, cool. Hello. Hi. Okay. So for, gender and sex are two different things. Okay. You can't really change your sex, right? So if you were born with a penis, you're a biological male. If you were born with a vagina, biological female. But gender is what society identifies you as, and it's the boxes that they put you in. And if we have the gender of man or woman, and this is how society boxes you in, and you have some people say, well, I was born male, but I'm transitioning into a woman. That's my gender. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't really find it like threatening to my womanhood. I've noticed a lot of women find that, biological males who transition as woman, they find that threatening to their womanhood. And I also noticed that trans men get very disrespected a lot of the times. That doesn't really affect me personally, and I don't really think there's a problem with it, honestly. I think that any woman, the period between 2010 and 2026 is marked by a massive transformative shift of LGBTQ plus rights, visibility, and legal standing, evolving from the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell to a more... Are you getting this from ChatGPT? Complex, challenging era, contested rights for transgendered individuals. Okay. Did you get this from ChatGPT? Oh. Key milestones included the 2015 nationwide legalization of same-sex marriage, a surge in pop culture representation, and increasing legal, though heavily contested, rights for transgendered individuals. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and I could, God, that deserves its own stream, because I think that women who feel threatened by trans women, because that's what it is, right? You feel threatened by trans women. You like, a woman who does not like trans people or is transphobic feels as if there are men who want to get their schlongs cut off and wear dresses and be identified as women so that they can replace their title in the hierarchy of what is woman enough, right? in all honesty in all honesty, I really feel like your validation for what you consider feminine enough or woman enough isn't coming from the trans person who was born biologically a male, and is transitioning into a woman. It's coming from society telling you certain things that you're doing is not considered feminine enough. It's not considered woman enough. It's especially nefarious for Black women too, because we're constantly masculinized in the media. We're constantly seen as the aggressors. We're never allowed to be soft. It's also why Olandria in Love Island, people were like scratching their heads because she was really getting like the soft pretty girl treatment in that show. Oh, thanks for commenting on my hair. I really appreciate it. From Google, LOL. But like, you know, how you said they can't change their sex, but like there are some surgeries for men to change their, you know, and they remove it. And I'm confused on that. Like, do they become non-binary or something? I'm pretty sure they just identify as a woman. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Transgenderism is very interesting to me because there's so much I don't know. But I've always been on the side of, you know, being very accepting, on the side of trans people, on the side of non-binary people, of queer people. I am queer myself. Yeah, I've come to terms with that, I think last year. Yeah, I'm pretty queer myself. Like, I'm not like visibly queer, but like I like people. Let's just put it that way. I'm attracted to people. Anything under that umbrella, you know. But yeah, I feel like the transphobia that comes from women, especially Black women, because I am a Black woman myself, it's coming from, you know, this validation of wanting to be seen as woman enough and feeling like men, like in a transphobic person's mind, men putting on dresses, are stepping in and saying, I'm a woman, I'm feminine, look at me, and then them getting that acceptance, which in actuality they aren't, or being able to create a following online or a space for themselves online, or if you're dating a partner who's attracted to trans women, you know what I mean? And it feels almost like you're competing for something that you were born with, that was inherent within you. That's what you're competing against. Somebody who is identifying as, you know, woman versus somebody who was born with a vagina and chooses to identify as a woman. I hope that makes sense. Watch someone clip this and like make it a cancelable clip. What I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to say is that your validation in your womanhood should not be threatened by trans people and trans women. Your validation in your womanhood is threatened almost always by men in the structures put in place by men, patriarchy, constantly moving the goalposts and saying that you're not enough as a woman, constantly masculinizing Black women. That isn't trans people. Trans people don't have enough weight. They don't have enough pull, which is crazy. Like, that is why I was never on board for like the anti-trans propaganda. That's why I was never on board for it, because there's not enough of them in the States, at the very least, to pull weight in that way. So I was always just like, why are we blaming them for everything? Because you need a scapegoat, right? You can't use gay people anymore. It's 2025, 2026. Okay. You can be gay, not queer, and support Trump. Like, that can happen. Absolutely. And you're going to have to be okay with it. So the next step is trans people. Like, that's the big bad. That's the villain. These trans and queer people are brainwashing your kids on TikTok. Oh, bye. And that is just so scary to think about. That's so scary and unfortunate to think about, because there's not a lot of them around and they deserve to have a voice. But yeah, it's so sad to see that people's bigotry and hatred for marginalized groups has boiled down to the American government attacking its own citizens. And that's very, very scary. And that makes me really, really sad and exhausted, because I feel like I've been gaslit this whole time from men, from women that were older than me, from people who, like, it's not that deep, right? Like, it's not that deep crowd. Like, hey, it is that deep now, buddy. It's always been that deep. It's always been that deep. But it's especially deep now. Like, people are getting unalived. And I think about, like, all the nonsense that happened in 2006, Hurricane Katrina. That was like the big, like, catastrophic events that happened. That happened in August of 2005. Close enough. 2005, we had Hurricane Katrina, and that's where I should have paid attention. To be fair, I was like 9, so I'm not going to pay attention to that. I was too busy playing with my Bratz dolls. I was like 10 or 11. So I wasn't playing with Bratz dolls at that time, but I was watching 4Kids TV, watching Sonic X. That's too big for my 10-year-old brain. That's way too much for me to handle, to realize that, like, and during the Hurricane Katrina issue or situation, the government didn't really help any of those people who were affected by the storm. The government did not help New Orleans at all. It didn't. And so that kind of, like, woke me up a little bit, but I didn't know any better, right? Like, but I had an idea that, like, the government really wasn't doing what it needed to do to help these people, Then in 2016, Trump becomes president. I'm, like, in my 20s, so I'm like, WTF, I thought the government would know better. Y'all spent 8 years ranking on Obama's pastel colored suit and Michelle Obama's, arms being out, like, and then you dunked on Sarah Palin for having a teen pregnant daughter. Like, what are we doing? No, we're going to let Trump win. Okay. 2026 comes around and he wins again. And people are still like, it's not that deep. This is too woke for me. Woke culture is, like, awful. Like, I can't do this woke culture. And now the American citizens are dying by the hands of the American military. Or not the American military, but the American government, for protesting. Alex Preddy lost his life for protesting and protecting a woman. He did. And this isn't anything new. I mean, George Floyd lost his life. It's just that, like, white people are mad, right? Like, they're mad. Now it's like, hold on there, buddy. Like, we can't have this happen. You should have been, like, known this was the next step in, like, 2020 with that George Floyd unaliving, like. And so, yeah, I haven't been in support of ICE. And like I said, I haven't been in support of them, like, since the Democrats were in office. But really, I hadn't really been in support of them all that much, at all, because my question has always been, okay, you deport all these people, but then you extort them for resources, and then you pay them under the table because you don't have to unionize the Mexicans that work in your field, in your farm field. You don't have to unionize. And I'm just saying this figuratively. I'm not trying to sound like a bigot. Okay. Um, and so you can pay them like $2 an hour and they'll be happy and okay with that. Whereas if you hire an American citizen, they're not going to go out into your cornfield and pick corn for $2 an hour. We're doing a more legalized way of that now with all the outsourcing of jobs in corporate America. See, when we stayed home during the pandemic, we were we when we stayed home during the pandemic, we corporate America realized, billionaires realized, tech bros realized that since we're working remotely, they could get work from anywhere. They did not have to get work primarily in America. And so after the pandemic happened, after all that overspending happened, during like the great firing of like 2021, like people just not working at all in 2021 and just, like kind of boycotting these companies, hired on a bunch of people in America, let them all go when they realized they couldn't afford them because angel investors weren't going to come in and give them money. Investment companies, investment firms weren't going to come in and bail them out, give them money to support them. So they let them all go. And then they started outsourcing to India and other countries out of America, offshore countries, right? That's what they started to do. And they did it for cheap with green cards sometimes with green cards, have them come here, work jobs here in America because it's cheaper to pay somebody with a green card than it is to pay an American citizen. You can hire a software developer from the States and they're going to at least a senior software developer from the States. And at the very least, they're going to ask for $120,000 a year, as they should. You let that person go. You hire an offshore senior software developer. You get to determine that they make no more than $60,000 a year, maybe even less. And so you save money for the company and your company still is running and making money for you. And so amidst those conversations in like the early 2020s about DEI, we got to get rid of DEI, diversity and equity and inclusion, that's ruining everything. DEI, right? We got to get rid of it, right? Because there are people in the workforce who aren't qualified to be there. There are minorities who aren't qualified to be in their roles. There are women who aren't qualified to be in their roles. They're just not qualified, says John the cashier, who doesn't have any of the credentials to be a software developer, but thinks that it's his birthright to make that much money. Okay. And the companies are going along with this narrative. We have to eliminate DEI. That's why we made all these layoffs. We're cutting back for efficiency. AI is the new thing. AI can do half your jobs. We're letting you go. AI can't run on an enterprise level, by the way. They just need an excuse for offshoring so many of their workers to another country so that they can run their company leaner and and make the money that they need from it and for cheap. So and it's so crazy because that's exactly what's happening. And it's hilarious as somebody who works in that space, in the tech space, I knew what was up, but it's so funny to hear people who think that they know better because they have a platform be like, oh yeah, they're just trying to eliminate DEI. And it's like, no, if anything, they're getting a cheaper version of it. Oh, overseas, they can't afford the people in America that are working. It had nothing to do with Sarah being a woman and Darius being black. It had everything to do with they don't want to pay them that much money. Why hire Sarah and Darius when you can hire Kumal and Sanjeev? That's problematic. But you see what I'm saying? Like, and they force them to work laborious slave wage hours, still get your product up, get your product out, make money from it, hoard all the wealth. Still pay CNG pennies. That's what's happening. Like, it's so frustrating. And it's so frustrating to hear people talk about these things knowing full well they don't know what they're talking about, and they're just telling their audience what they want to hear, confirming their bias. But it's like John the cashier, who believes that the reason why he can't get that juicy software developer job is because of DEI, doesn't know that he doesn't have the qualifications anyway to get that software developing job regardless, because they would have definitely hired John the cashier. It's just John the cashier isn't a software developer. He doesn't have the skills. So no, you're not going to get that product management role. You're not going to get that project coordinator, developer, software engineering role. You're not going to get that. You're not, like, what are your credentials? Do you even know how to code? Did you just learn how to code, bro, and that's it? Is that what you did and you didn't network with anybody? So no, you weren't going to get the job. And then when you get the job and you don't have the experience needed, and so they give you less than the desirable wage that you want, you're not going to work there. But someone offshore will. Use your head. Think, Mark, think. Like, you know what I mean? You're not going to go out in the cornfields and harvest corn for these farm companies. Not the way the illegal immigrants were. You're not going to be out there wanting to work $5 an hour. I think with the way things are going, we might get to a point where people will be desperate enough to just get a job and make something, right? I hope we don't get there, but it looks like that's where we're going socially, economically, and politically. I do feel like with all the loss of jobs, they're really trying to make it so that the American citizens are desperate, so that they either, get like jobs in like the military or with ICE, or that they just be content with slave wage roles and being out in the farm picking fruit and corn. I do feel like that's where we're headed, personally. But yeah, ICE is awful, and it's so sad to see. I'm also like scared to talk about these things because JD Vance had made it very clear that they're going to be cracking down on a lot of the ICE raids. I'm going to call them that, ICE raids, that they're going to be knocking door to door, and that they're going to be using devices on our phones to figure out where we are so that they can track us down as American citizens, to see if we're like legal. I feel like you don't need to track a person down on their phone to see if they're legal or not. I feel like you don't need to do all of that. I feel like they're doing that, and I know for a fact they're doing this to eliminate the people who do not stand where they stand politically. That's what I feel like is happening. And for that reason, I want to lead into my next point about how fatigued I am just with all the whole situation, how we're literally living in 1930s Germany. Y'all, I'm tired. I'm really tired. I'm fatigued. I've been doing this content creation thing, like this type of content creation thing, since like 2021. So about like 5 years. And I feel like it'd be in bad faith for me to talk about like pop culture and celebrities and like all the of like TikTok discourse, all this other type of discourse without standing on business for the values that I believe in. That's just like how I am as a creator. Like anybody can talk about, I don't know, Sabrina Carpenter, but not a lot of people are going to talk about like what's going on in the world when it matters. And if we're going to reach a point, if we haven't already, where they're going to start silencing people to speak on things that matter so that they can create more and more and more propaganda towards being okay with like military just like strolling, not even military, ICE just strolling, you know, the streets, putting us under some version of martial law in a way. I don't like, it's scary to think about like speaking up more, you know, because it will probably get to the point where they're going to start incarcerating or picking people off the streets who just have different opinions from them as them. People who are innocently protesting. Like I said, Alex Preddy, Renee Good, like I said, this, for Black folks, this is like a Tuesday for us. Like we've been seeing this damage, you know? So it's like, I'm not gonna lie, it's getting scarier and scarier to talk about these things because I don't want to put myself in a position where, you know, they're tearing down my door because I said something that they disagreed with. But, you know, we're not there yet, and I still have to speak on these things. But I'm just kind of scared to speak on these things now. I've deleted TikTok. You know, and what sucks is I really wanted to be on TikTok like that. I wanted to be a TikTok creator. But they introduced the new terms of service and I just couldn't get on board. I think I might go to Red Note, maybe. I might be on Red Note. I don't even know if I want to be on Instagram like that. I don't trust anything that Zuckerberg comes out with. Because I don't just want to like talk about, you know, commentary all day and commentary stuff and social political discourse, pop culture, social media stuff all day. I don't want to do that. You know, I want to like take cute photos and wear cute outfits and show y'all my cute outfits, but not at the risk of being tracked down, you know what I mean? And honestly, TikTok has had its time. It's getting way out of hand. I've already had like a really bad addiction with TikTok, like a really, really bad addiction. And I'm glad that hopefully this is the nail in the coffin with this new terms of service where I'm just like, you know what, girl, I'm good. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want y'all tracking me down. My phone tried to do an upgrade. I don't know if it successfully did it, but yeah, they're using like new surveillance. They're using new surveillance software to track people down, to see where people are in their homes for whatever reason. That's very scary to me. That's very scary. So I don't want to say that I'm trying to be careful of what I say on here from now on, but I wouldn't be lying to y'all if I didn't say I was nervous about some of the things I talk about and how that's going to translate. So yeah, we're in a surveillance state, and so that's scary. So be aware of that. I don't know what that means for us. Well, I do know what it means. It means that, you know, more people are going to be tracked down. And unfortunately, this is like only year 2. It's going to get worse. We're into year 2. So yeah, it's going to get worse. And I'm wondering what things are going to look like come 2028. I am very worried for the midterm elections. I'm concerned if Trump is going to weaponize ICE to keep people from voting in certain states, to make it more difficult for us to vote, or if he's just going to stay put and like try to come up with some elaborate reason why he should be president for another 4 years, step down and be vice president. I don't really know. People are saying that he's croaking. I don't really know. And at the end of the day, if he is croaking, that doesn't make anything any better because JD Vance is going to probably follow through on a lot of the things that he put in place. JD Vance is a character. I remember when he first got popular, he was against a lot of the things that Trump stood for. And I remember watching Hillbilly Elegy and being like, I like it. This is good. This is interesting. And then not knowing that he's like a full blown conservative. I would have had more respect for him if he was like a Republican that didn't agree to a lot of the stuff that, Trump promoted. Was like, I hate that man. A little bit more respect for you, I guess. But then he started gussying up to Trump, and I'm really interested to see how the Erica, Kirk, and JD Vance, like how that's gonna look like in the next couple years. Because the way Erica Kirk and her Turning Point USA conferences has been like all over that man. Don't be surprised in the next couple years that they come out as a new hot thing and that Usha is sent off somewhere. Because conservatives don't like Usha. She's a brown girl. They don't like that woman. They don't like that she isn't Christian. See, I think Republicans would be okay with her being Christian. Conservatives don't like the fact that she's Christian. They know. They don't like the fact that she's Christian or that she isn't Christian. Excuse me. They don't like that she's a brown woman. They would much rather see Vance with Erica Kirk. So if that happens in the next couple years, like, don't be surprised. It's like the jokes write themselves at this point. That's all I'm gonna say. And so yeah, I think it's a responsibility. Like, I never really wanted to be like a political streamer, and I'm not. I'm definitely not. I just like to talk about things that are going on in the world and my thoughts on them. But now isn't the time to say it's not that deep. If there's anything you take away from the stream, I need you to understand that now is not the time for y'all to be saying that it's not that deep. It is that deep, and it's only going to get deeper and worse. Y'all need to lock in. Okay. Lock the fuck in. It is absolutely that deep. Shit is getting real. All right. Protest. Speak out, speak up, donate. It's that deep, y'all. It's that deep. Anti-intellectualism is why we are where we are at right now. Pseudo-intellectualism is why we are at where we are at right now. And I'm gonna take a shot out of the dark and say that anti-intellectualism and pseudo-intellectualism will be why internet media will be going in the direction it does, which is like full-blown censorship. And I don't agree with full-blown censorship at all. All right. But we've been platforming too many barbershop intellectualists, woo-woo, Facebook anti-conspiracy theorists. We've been platforming way too many of these people. And we've been listening to them. Like, Candace Owens is basically one of them, right? Like, half of her stream and her show is just her going off about like crazy conspiracy theories that might not be true. Anti-intellectualism at its finest, pseudo-intellectualism, conspiracy theory nonsense at its finest. It's going to get to a point where the internet's already getting censored right now, but it's going to get to a point where the internet will be very, very censored because misinformation is muddying up the waters. Yeah, so it is that deep. Pick up a book, read, get information from reputable sources. Ground News is a good one. I'm not sponsored, but I hear good things about Ground News. I used to, I think it was called Rikers. Oh no, what's going on? What's going on with the internet? Rikers or Rutgers, I think it's called. Oh no. What's going on? Okay, guys, I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that. Whoa, we disconnected. Okay, I'm back. All right. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So make sure you're reading. Make sure you're looking up your information. Um, make sure you're, helping out any way you can because shit's getting real. Shit's getting really, really real. Okay. It's time to lock in, as the kids say. Lock in. Um, so do your research. And I'm so sorry. I gotta swing back around to this real quick. I can't stand an anti-intellectual, pseudo-intellectual mother effer. I cannot stand the spiritual, lyrical, earthy, wannabe Pan African. Like, I don't like that. Dr. Sebi type, like Sebi type, excuse me. Like, and there's things to criticize about the like medical healthcare industry, right? The pharmaceutical company, big pharma. There are things to criticize, but like to the point where you're not even taking in care that has been known to help you or getting vaccines that are known to help and support you. Like, I don't like an anti-intellectualist mother effer. I don't like those people. At the very and it's like they're so oh god. I don't know if you could hear me there, but anyway, at the very least, anti-intellectualist people, right? Um stand like they're just loud and wrong and they stand in being loud and wrong. I might not have it right all the time, but I'm okay in being challenged for being wrong. Like I'll be at peace with that. Tell me I'm wrong so I can learn. Pseudo intellectualist, conspiracy theorist, woo woo people, it's like they really do believe this. They believe this nonsense. I had to stop watching a YouTuber or a content creator because they believed that AI was demonic in the way that like there were evil entities trying to communicate to the AI to bring down humanity. Like devil, alien, demonic entities trying to connect to humanity to bring humanity down. Like they believe that with their whole chest. And they said that with their whole chest on social media platforms. And they have a huge platform while saying this. I was like, with this huge of a platform, and this is the nonsense that you're talking about. It's a machine learning model. Like, oh my God. The actual aliens are probably looking at us right now and they're like, you know what? They got it. Like, they don't need us. Because I do believe aliens exist, but like, not in that way. No. I don't think they exist in that way. I don't think they're that like nefarious. I think they're just like creatures, you know, that just kind of act on instinct. But then I also think that like the smart ones are like, girl, we're not messing with Earth. They're ghetto over there. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. So yeah, I'll talk about like a podcast that I'm watching that I recommend to other people. To my girly pops, honestly, because there needs to be more conversations about feminism and womanhood and all of that. Like there needs to be more conversations about that. When I say womanhood, I don't mean um like divine feminine womanhood. Like no, like actual like feminism, like fight for our rights, the audacity, or like at least educate women on like the truth of like how this world works. So I listen to their podcast a lot. They're called the Audacity Podcast. I like them a lot. If you are a girly pop who is in your late teens, early 20s, or in your 30s like myself, I definitely recommend that you give these lovely ladies a listen. um I'm not really one for like gender war type of conversations. I really don't like them. I don't feel like they're productive to the whole holistic conversation of like patriarchy as a system, not as like a let's blame men all the time because they suck. I don't really like that, because patriarchy does negatively impact men. It does. And men are suffering, right? Men are lonely, not because women don't want to be with them, but because they aren't fulfilling the roles of patriarchy telling them that they need a woman to be with them. That's why they're lonely. If patriarchy was like, dude, you don't need a girl, just exist, bro. Be friends with your homies and exist. I'm pretty sure like men would be less lonely, but patriarchy requires men to be with a woman, to get married, to make that woman have their kids. Like that's just like the requirement, right? And I think a lot of the women empowerment or the gender war, woman leaning sides of the argument, tend to just shit on men 24/7 without having any like critical context or understanding as to why we're shitting on men. It's just men are the problem, men are the problem, men are awful. No, I don't like that. But I do like the Audacity podcast because they offer subject matter experts. Um, and they offer a lot of nuance that I don't think a lot of content creators, when they do the gender war conversations, actually unpack and dismantle. Like they have a lot of like insight. um Listening to this podcast and actually just like paying attention to what's going on, right, with women's reproductive rights and all of that, has had it has given me the decisions, allowed me to create the decisions that I have right now, where I am, I don't desire to get married. I don't desire to have kids anymore. Like I don't want to have kids. I don't want to get married. And I think one of the reasons why is because of podcasts like these, like bringing in insight about what sacrifices might have to be made as a woman who has kids, as a woman who gets married, and that's important work. That's very important work. So definitely go give that a watch. Pretty good, pretty informative. Um, Sometimes it's a little biased, but I'd say it's in good faith. But really, it'll be a good time when we're done with these gender war conversations. They're kind of annoying, but if you are a girl and you are sad because you haven't gotten picked, I would definitely give them a listen. And I don't know. I don't know who needs to hear this. And I think I'll close out with this statement because in my like teen years and into my early 20s, right? So late teens, early 20s, I really wanted to get picked. I really wanted to get picked by the men who I wanted to pick me. And then I don't know. It gets old. Like male validation gets really old. And so if you are a 20 some odd year old girl or a girl in your late teens and you're watching me, though if you're in your teens, you really should not be watching me anyway. The one piece of advice I can give you as a woman who with love and relationships, all that, is that it really isn't all that to get picked. And at the end of the day, like I know like deep down inside your desire to get picked is like your like number one priority. It's a new phenomenon that a lot of women are just decentering men and not focusing on men in general. That's a very new phenomenon. When I was a teen, no, we were like, especially in college, my first couple of years of college, all day we would just talk about men all day, all day, all day. How can we get with this guy? What can we do to let this guy see that we're the ones? How can we do like it gets annoying. That's what I'm gonna say. Right. So I'm glad that women are like addressing the fact that like, yeah, talking about men all day is weird and annoying. Let's have hobbies, right? But when you do get picked, it's really not that great and it gets very, very boring. It gets very, very boring. Like I love my partner a lot, but it's just like like if I were single, I would not do this again. At least not with a man. No, no, it's not what it's all cracked up to be. It's more rewarding to have accomplishments that you have done under your belt outside of like getting married and having kids. I'm not saying that. Okay, so let's backtrack. I'm not saying that kids aren't rewards and kids aren't blessings, right? But I am saying that you will be happier with yourself if you can accomplish a lot more on your own than constantly trying to find the validation of men and male partners. So yeah, and yeah, I think that's it here. That's all I got. I'm gonna head off. I don't know what my schedule is going to be looking like because I got to apply to a lot of jobs. Oh, quick story time about my jobs. Okay, and then I'll end things. Okay, so I did a little challenge for a job, right? I did a little challenge, and I made it to the second round of interviews. Good thing is that I'm getting interviewed. That's really good. But I made it to the second round of the interview, and the person I was interviewed by, they said that they really liked my work. They said that they were impressed with a lot of the things I was doing. And I'd say in my field of work, I'm really good at certain things and other things I could use improvement on, right? So I spent like 40 hours, a 40-hour work week on this challenge. I go to the second round of interviews and they say, yeah, we're going to definitely give you a call back. Never got the call back. And so I'm sitting here thinking, I just did a bunch of free work for this company, a 40-hour work week that they did not pay me for, only for them to probably pick someone else. I was livid. I was furious. This job market is awful. Another piece of advice, don't accept challenges for free for a job. If you have to do a little challenge for the job, understand that it's not little. It's probably free work and they're probably going to get you, like, they're going to use your ideas to apply to their own like project or product that they're working on. Okay. It's free work. Don't do that. I was pissed. This job market is awful. Awful. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But I don't know. The people I used to work with, some of them are getting jobs and have gotten jobs, and I just gotta work harder, I guess. I'm trying to plow out a lot of job applications, so we'll just see how that goes. We'll see how that goes, and we'll move forward. I am a I am a numbers game girly. I'll be damned if I have to sit and tailor my resume individually for every single. I am not doing that. I'll answer little questions here and there, but I am not, like, why are you telling people to do that? These recruiters are looking, they're using AI to verify whether or not they should even look at the resume. A lot of these companies know that. So like, why are you expecting these people to these candidates to, individually tailor their resume? Absolutely not. That's way too time consuming. So we'll see how that goes. After I reach like my desired amount of applied jobs that I've applied to, then we'll see, like, if I don't get a response back, because I have been getting interviews, which is good. It's good that I've been able to get interviews very, very soon. I just haven't been selected. But after we reach that hurdle and I still haven't gotten responses, then, maybe, I'll probably have to go back to school, honestly. Pivot into something else, go back to school. Or that's when I'll try and tailor my resumes. But usually when I like hit a certain job application amount, someone's bound to give me an offer. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And like, I'm fingers crossed that the offer I get is good money. Like, I'm not getting paid like less than what I make now, hopefully. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, guys, I will see you all on Thursday, hopefully. I don't know what time because I'm going to be busy doing other things, but yeah, just expect me on Thursday. I'll probably keep yapping. I don't really have games to play yet, so I'll just keep yapping. But yeah, guys, you have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Looking forward to seeing you all on Wednesday or Thursday. And then we'll probably do a Reddit story reading on Sunday. Yeah. All right. So see you later, guys. Have a great rest of your night. Bye.